Hey everybody, Andy from Tennis Euphoria, bringing you a review of the Wilson Blade V8 16x19. I plan to review the V9 100, 104 and the 18x20, but I thought I'd start here as I think this one will be probably the one that will be most purchased by people of various categories, which is a good thing about this V9. In terms of the blade, for those of you who are new to your racket obsession journey, then the blade is Wilson's, I guess, flagship control line. For many people, it sort of sets the benchmark when it comes to modern day control orientated frames. They'll always look familiar because there's bags of professionals endorsing the blade. Just know that the professionals will be playing with something different for the majority of the time. The blade and Wilson generally I found was sometimes a little bit erratic when it came to quality control. This one that I got hold of, I've bought because I suspected I wanted to keep it, was pretty much on spec, 321 swing weight, strong with Alu Power Soft at £52 for testing. Found this graphic, which I thought was quite interesting. It just sort of goes through the development of the blade and the different technologies that you can find in them up to the V9. There is a sort of clip-in system of grommets on this version 9. Some might think that's gimmicky. I string quite a lot, so I think that's quite cool. I actually think it's probably quite a clever thing because most players who will be playing with blades will probably be regular players, more advanced end players, and so they're likely to be more heavy on their rackets and restringing more often. And I think then to make changing grommets more easy will add to the ease for the stringer and the player. So I actually think that's quite a cool thing. For many of you who are already using the blade, you're wanting to probably understand what the differences are between the V9 and the V8. And happy to say that the demo V8 that I have, 16x19, Tennis Euphoria here that we use for demo services, is really well matched to my V9. It's a 320 swing weight. So when they're strung with the same tension and played side by side, as you can see in these clips with my slinger, I'm able to really tell if there are any differences. And what I can report is that there are. So like many manufacturers, I'm noticing it in Babolat, the new strikes. I'm reviewing the 16x20 100 at the moment, also with Isoflex from Technofiber, heads or Zetic technology. It's clear to me that manufacturers are all looking to do pretty much the same thing at the moment, and that is to sort of further stabilize rackets whilst keeping swing weight and static weight as low as possible. I think generally they've been listening around comfort too, so there's one eye on comfort with a lot of updates and new releases. So no difference here basically. With the V9 you have got something that is more muted. I think that will translate to more comfort. The V8 was probably a comfortable racket overall, but this I think will be more comfortable, and it does feel more stable than the V8. I would go as far as saying that this is the first 16x19 that I've hit through all of the recent variations or iterations where I don't think it necessarily needs customization to play effectively for an advanced player. So that really comes from it being just that little bit more stable. If I was to use the V8 16x19 as my frame, I would probably add a little bit of weight, but I like a leather grip, so I'd get another 10 grams probably from that, and I'd probably counterbalance that at 3 and 9 or maybe 10 and 2. But I think for most people there won't be the need to customize this, which is a good thing. Other changes compared to the V8, this is definitely more muted. Now that's either going to be a positive or a negative depending on your personal preference, but certainly it is a more muted feel on contact. Me personally, I actually prefer that. It doesn't feel stiff. We have got a reported increase of 2 points in the RA. I actually think that is just translating through to a little bit more pop and power, and I was finding that the launch angle on this V9 was just a little bit higher than the V8, so I think that will translate through to more consistency of play for a lot of people, more insurance really, and certainly from my point of view that would be a good thing if this was my racket of choice. So I enjoyed the V8, V9, sorry, 16 by 19 so much. I actually used it for a couple of my Racket consultation services. That clip just gone was me going through one with a customer, and that's quite high praise. It's rare that I would vary from my Racket of choice when I'm delivering one of those customization picking services, because what I want to be doing is hitting balls right back where I want them to customers. I don't want to be thinking too much about where I'm hitting the ball. I just want to be moving around effectively, getting it back all of the time, making sure that they're hitting consistent balls, that I'm not making any errors, so they can with the rackets that they're testing. And I felt that it was a bit more forgiving than the V8. The sweet spot is just probably a little bit more generous. So yeah, I really enjoyed it for those, and that's praise indeed, because as I say, I wouldn't want anything to ever affect service. So who is the blade suitable for? Well, there's many iterations now, isn't there? You've got the 100, the 104, which could compete with sort of other racket categories as we would describe them here at Tennis Euphoria. Generally speaking, of course, the blade is an advanced player's control orientated frame. It would be, I guess, standing out even more so with the V9 compared to some all-out control frames, is just having a bit more stability, pop and power now. So you're almost getting into the stage of competing with things like the Speed MP, but you have more control from this. So I think this V19 is a little bit more accessible to a wider group of people than previous blades have been. I would go as far as saying that this is definitely my favourite blade, certainly in terms of the 16 by 19 anyway. I was a big fan of the V8. I enjoyed the V7. I think this is better, but then I do have a personal preference for that slightly more muted feel over the last two, and I do think that some players using the V8 will prefer the feel in the V8. So I think it will be a personal thing, important to demo before you buy. Should you demo if you're using the V8? Should you demo if you are considering other frames? Absolutely, this is an excellent option. It continues to be the benchmark. For me, I think there's one frame out there that does compete with it, which doesn't get enough praise, and that is the Technofiber T-Fight Isoflex 315. It's harder to get hold of. Not as many retailers stock it, but that's a good competitor to this. But excellent frame. Really good job, Wilson, and I even prefer the paint job now I've seen them together. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews coming up, and see you in the next one.